The first lesson of the audio and music production course from a top-rated audio engineer, Andrew Zeleno. I've been teaching 80 students from 9 countries for 4 years in Skype and in presence. This course was considered as one of the best in the world in Russian language. That's why I'm gonna record my English translation and put it on this video now. I teach from Canada now. Video quality is not good, so try to concentrate on the information. Don't hesitate to send me an email. And enjoy this video. It's very helpful. There are a lot of you who already work with audio here. As I know, everybody here works with audio, right? Famous British scientists. Once they got an audio engineer sat down, they put sensors on his head to analyze what's going on in his brain during his work. The scientists discovered an interesting thing. When a professional starts mixing process, he hears a huge amount of problems. The sound is muddy, sharp, doesn't sound in musical way. It sounds quiet, weak, sounds bad, and he starts to struggle. He's improving something step by step, and after a while, in 2 hours, he starts to put himself in kind of trance. And this is true. If you were able to get a good sounding mix, you know that you put yourself in a trance. It looks like meditation. You are in the sound environment, because you are hearing the sound like a loop. You are listening to the same again and again. You put yourself in a trance which people were able to achieve during raves in late 80s, with the help of medication in the club, where there was a straight beat or something like that. So British scientists discovered that processes in the brain of an audio engineer are pretty the same like in the brain of Buddhist monk during meditation. They compared it. There is some other thing. If you meditate long enough on a daily basis and you stop doing it, you start to be angry. You just go from spiritual to the material world and you get angry. And this is the truth. For example, when I have some order or some clients and I mix them for a long period of time, it's a happy period. If there is some pause and you don't mix, you understand. So it's a huge thing, besides you like to do this work. You like music because it's a very big part of our life, right? So additionally, it's very helpful psychological thing. It was just a side talk about it. And it's very cool to work as an audio engineer, which is helpful for your health. I have a written plan of the lecture. I look at it in order not to miss something. I think it's clear. The question for you: why you need this course? Who knows? Why you need this? The student says, for development, and I reply, for development of what? The students say, to go further. I continue, do you have any different opinions? Right, it's absolutely right. I think 60% of it is absolutely true. In reality, the goal of all of this is to become a part of some society of people who earn money with their favorite activity. There is a very good proverb: make your favorite activity as your job and you won't work a single day of your life. And it's the truth. I've already asked, who of you earn money only doing music? It's Vlad and me here, right? You work somewhere else, besides job related to music. And it's perfect to work in this industry and earn money only with this activity. It's blessing. Instead of going to the office, sitting there and getting angry, you work with sound and do it for a living. So in reality, the goal of this course is to put yourself on this path. Even on this stage or even in a year, I don't guarantee that you will start to earn money only with working with music. Actually, it more depends on characteristics of a personality. What you are ready to sacrifice for this, where are you going, what skills you have, how hard you work, etc. But in any way, you will get those things that Stas said. You will improve your skills. You will be able to do really professional products. I guarantee this for sure. But the second stage is fully crossing to earning money by your favorite activity. It's our way. The very important thing now. You all have different goals you want to get from this course. Somebody wants to know how to write music. and it's electronic music. Somebody wants to work on sound, somebody wants to improve their mixes, somebody like Stas runs his own studio and wants to put it on the higher level. The thing is, of course, it's your main task, but let's see the truth. In order to earn money working in music, you need to know everything. For instance, if you only like house music, and it's not enough to write only house music and mix sound for the house music. You need to be able to create commercial spots, produce video, to write music, to do sound design. Only when you can do a lot of things, only then you will get opportunities. Those days when there was a strict separation are gone. For example, you are a musician, you are an arranger, and you are an audio engineer. Nowadays, not always you can be successful in this way. We will have step-by-step topics. If there are some topics you are not interested in today, it's gonna be very helpful for you in the future. We learn everything on this course. It covers absolutely all areas of music and audio industry which ever existed. It's really important. I'll prove it in the end of this lesson. Now I want to stick to the plan. I just wanted to say that it can be some absolutely different skills you will need after a while, not the same you want right now. After this course you will be able to handle any task. Okay guys, now an important question. My goal is to waive your doubts. When you start this course, like any person, you have doubts. Do I need this course? And the first question is, who is the teacher? Who am I? Do I have the possibility to teach you? What have I done? And who am I? Right now, for the purpose of closing this question, I'm telling you my story related to the audio and music industry. It started from the simple situation. I liked music, I wanted to create music, release albums, etc. Like everybody. It's pretty rare if it starts from something else. It's strange if somebody is sitting and suddenly says, "What if I adjusted in EQ?" It's impossible. It was continuing, I was trying something, it was different programs from Dance Machine, Soundforge, Acid. I had my own funny method to write music. There was a program called Acid, Sony Acid. Before that it was called Sound Foundry Acid. I had one note. I cut these notes from classic music and put them in the program. Then I pitched them and changed the note and created melodies in this way. Once I came to the local studio and showed it, an engineer didn't believe in it, that you can write music in this way. Cut note C from a classic music and then it turns into D with a pitch process, then F and so on. Then I ran a studio. And in that period of time there weren't not so many studio services in my region, so I had a huge flow of clients. A lot of people came into my studio. And 80% of them were rappers. In that period of time, hip-hop was really popular and everyone wanted to be a rapper. You know by yourself how many things you need to know to manage a studio. It's pretty difficult, honestly. Because you need to work fast. A person who comes to your studio doesn't understand sometimes that recording is one thing and mixing is another. In my market I had to learn how to mix on the fly. Alex remembered this. Also you need to fight with alcoholism in the studio. Clients come to the studio with beer, this beer is spilled on the floor. Clients are late or next clients are about to come in, but previous clients haven't finished yet. So you need to have some management skills. After that I wrote an article for this magazine. It's the one of 200 magazines on the planet. There is a Grammy award where they award musicians. Also there is kind of technical Grammys, where the companies are awarded for some achievements, like Waves, Neumann, Fender, Gibson, SSL and so on. And this magazine is one of those who makes a decision who's gonna win. This magazine has this kind of status. In the Eastern Europe, if you want to get a professor status or something like that, you need to write science publications. And this magazine is okay for that. After reading this magazine, one famous recording engineer who worked in 8 countries came to my city just to talk about all this. And you need to know a mathematical part of sound to handle discussion with a person from the top of this industry. He spoke about phase, amplitude, frequencies, and I understood where I need to go. Then I was hired to work for the radio station. It was a part of the biggest broadcasting company in the country. It's not like on every radio station. There was the real news department. There were editors, journalists. They all come to you. You need to convert the audio from the recorder. You need to improve the audio quality. Some deputies saying something. You need to cut all mistakes. You must not do any mistake, because if you do so, you will be punished. It's not the simple radio station which plays music, you know? I showed myself in a good way and started to create radio spots. Every radio spot which was made by my radio station was made by me. And you need to have a commercial sounding, very competitive audio products to introduce your radio station to people. You need to create everything. How the spot starts, how it ends. You need to choose the right music or even right music. Everything must sound perfect. And I started to create commercials. It's different. There are a lot of clients who has crazy ideas. They come and claim something. You made something, but they say, no, I have my own conception, I see how it should be done. If you cannot do it, you need to explain somehow why it's wrong way. Something like, it's a bad idea to try to convert your male voice into female voice, for example. So you need a bunch of knowledge for this work. Some band comes, for instance, like Within Temptation, the famous European band, and they want to put their song between the part of the interview. You need to operate what you put on the air, control levels, but commercials should be on time. And the DJ needs to know when he stopped talking and he says, well, we'll come back soon. This is not a simple job, and I continue to work in it. Then I found a mistake in SSL equipment. It's a very interesting thing, because the company with so high level made a mistake in their equipment. I found this mistake. I was debating with them pretty long and proved. They admitted the fact that there is a mistake. After that, I had some collaboration activities with SSL. First of all, I was invited to have a speech on their presentation. Secondly, SSL was testing their plugins. You all know them. It's a solid-state logic channel strip, master bus. They invited me to test them. I mean, a plugin has problems and bugs, and you need to help them to fix all this. But to understand if it works properly, you need to know this equipment very well. Also, they offered a job opportunity in Oxford, England. But it was before they understood what citizenship I have. I was mailing with them in English, right? They thought I'm British, French or someone like this. You all know how difficult to go somewhere for people from our countries, so it didn't happen. After that I had a couple of more opportunities to work abroad, but every time it's our citizenship. So you need to run your own service and look for international customers. It's pretty difficult to go abroad to work from our country. Then I produced a guy. I wrote a song for him, recorded and mixed it. And he won a music contest from Italian government. You need different skills here, right? How to write music, how to mix it on the highest level. Then I was mixing dance music. And we reached Holland labels. I started to understand what's the difference in mixing different genres. How to get that punch in a kick drum. All those nuances come to you with experience. The more you work with some genre, the more you feel what it needs. The next thing is Focusrite company. I think you all know this company, right? With what is Focusrite known for the current generation of audio engineers and producers? With audio interfaces. It's a shame. While everybody still knows SSL as one of the best analog equipment, everybody says, oh, it's SSL. In the same time, everybody knows Focusrite as an audio interface manufacturer. But in fact, Focusrite is not worse than SSL. Focusrite was kind of new Neve. Neve was one of the biggest companies. Focusrite released their big console, one of the most expensive, by the way. Jack Joseph Puig still has this console, you know? It reminds me a spaceship from movies from 80s. After that, they pulled out preamplifiers, compressors, equalizers and made outboard gear called channel strips. This is why Focusrite is the famous company. They're outboard in racks, not with their audio interfaces. When Pro Tools 9 came out, Their audio interfaces didn't work with these Pro Tools. I asked Focusrite about this issue, and now Focusrite audio interfaces work with Pro Tools. So I cooperated with Focusrite a little bit. So these are SSL plugins. I think you know them. There are a lot of them. The most important is SSL bus compressor, which compresses the whole song, and of course SSL channel strip. What you see here is the same what you see on the screen. These are the same. Here we have the EQ, compressor and expander gate. And here this is the EQ, this is the compressor and the expander gate. Actually there are two types of EQ, E and G EQ. It's kind of two different EQs that are in the same box, controlled with the same set of knobs. We'll talk about it a couple of minutes later. You understand this, right? It's 10 years. I have about 10 years of experience as a professional. Then Dennis Moody. He's one of the best, who worked on 8 movies, he worked on jazz albums of Miles Davis and Stanley Clarke and of course Prince, so he invited me to go to Los Angeles to work with the band in their home studio. And again it's our documents. It was urgent, unfortunately that's how it goes with working abroad. But of course it's pleasant that a person with this level recognized something in me. Then I was working for the best recording studio in the country. This studio is famous because of its control room. Guys from Avid company who sell Pro Tools came to the studio to check their control room to confirm that it's one of the best control room in Europe. What I was doing for them? I was working as an arranger and a music writer. I had a conflict with them because of a Ukrainian star. They asked me to copy some famous song. It was American R&B. And they said, copy this song. I didn't want to copy. I just decided to add something, to change something. It sounded similar but different. Different instruments, feels, I had a different bass. They replied in the rude manner. And I decided to stop working with them. Then I was invited to work for the radio station in New Zealand and for the theater in New Zealand. Again, it's documents, and honestly speaking, I didn't have English in that period of time. Now I'm learning it, trying to do my best. I tried to develop this direction in order to work abroad. By the way, in 2016 I was successful in it, and now I'm a Canadian. It was FOH occupation. Who knows what is it? FOH stands for Front of House Engineer. It's when there is some performance in the theater, for example. There is a picture here somewhere. Strange, I can't find it. Whatever. I'll explain. Their theater is not like you are trying to scream loudly from the stage. Actors have lavalier mics. You control the sound for the audience. Front of house. You control the volume balance, you use EQs to give more clarity, to fight with muddiness. You increased the definition of voices. It's pretty interesting work. These kind of jobs are pretty in demand right now. It can be a club. Here people say a sound director. In the world people say mixing engineer, mastering engineer, front of house engineer, recording engineer, recordist, Foley artist, Foley editor, and so on. A lot of words, but here people say a sound director. Then in 2013 I received the status of the first rank audio specialist according to the classification of Television and Radio State Committee of Ukraine. The first rank is the highest. They give the status for your achievements and you need to work in this field at least 7 years. Then David Kane. He's one of the best audio engineers of all time. And he was a vice president for Columbia Records and Warner Brothers Records. He assessed me and said, "You know what you are doing." It was a pleasure to hear it from David Kane. After that, I was working for Wargaming company. They made this famous game called World of Tanks. You all know this game. Online tank shooter. Every psycho plays this game. Tons of people were competing for it. Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, Baltic, Europe. There was 3 finalists and one of them was me. Now we continue, but with this war in our country and this crisis, it's suspended. The company suddenly froze this project. They said wait for the future instructions. So I'm still waiting. And now we are gonna watch my work. One thing. Do you see these speakers? And student says, classic. And I reply, yeah, classic. Just consider this. I'm gonna show you what there was in the beginning. That's what there was in the beginning. That's it. You need to do everything else. You need to write music, make sound, find or record shots, explosions of tanks. It's very serious. For example, the camera goes back underneath the tank. So the motion of the tracks should go in the right direction. First, the tracks are on both sides. They are bright. The camera pulls back, the sound loses high frequencies and it goes to the background. The amount of reverb is increasing, and you need to consider a balance between reverb tail and early reflections. It's changing. It's a physics rule. Let's watch this. It lasts 1 minute and a half. I decided not to put this video here because of possible property issues, but you can watch this video on my channel or use this link. But come back here after watching. Everything must go on time. It's a serious work. It was pretty challenging task because of everything is attached to certain events. Every event starts and ends in the right place. The sounds are put properly. You will be able to do the same after this course. The student asked, how much time did you spend for this work? And I reply, to create this video, 3 days. Only 3 days. Of course, it's not like I'm sitting from the morning to the night. It's even like you come back from work and you do it. The student asks, is 8 hours approximately? And I reply, if we count like I sit and work, then yes, it's about 8 hours. I thought I need to do it fast to show them how fast I am. I've made it in 3 days and sent it to them, and then I was waiting for 2 months until everybody have sent their works. I could have worked on this for 2 months to improve something. After that, I made a lot of great projects for my clients. I have been teaching more than 80 students from 9 countries during 9 months course for 4 years. I helped them not only to start doing competitive and professional products, but helped a lot of them to get a job in the industry. We even compared their work with the best products from the best audio engineer in the world, and honestly analyze the difference. If their products were worse, we didn't say we have worse monitoring, or we don't have analog summing mixer, or when we send it to mastering then it will sound great, or we are not in Los Angeles. We just must sound on the same level, period. And eventually they had competitive products. I'm very proud when my students say, there is no other teacher who teaches like this. Nobody can explain so good. You only need to take it. Then I feel I proved that my course is one of the best in the world. Then I immigrated to Canada, and only after 1 month of arriving I already worked successfully as a mastering engineer for a couple of projects in the city. In the last activity I started to work on a plugin with the leading audio software developing company Waves. I had an idea for the revolutionary plugin. We already signed with Waves a non-disclosure agreement. We'll see this plugin soon. So I wasn't just passing here to teach people. I have some skills, right? Now really important conclusion from all of this. What conclusion? You need to learn everything. Not only mixing, not only music writing, not only mixing of dance music or hip-hop music, rock music. You need to learn everything and practice. It's very important. There is one more thing. It's very important to develop your kind of sound intuition. I mean your reactions. This sound intuition is what defines an audio engineer. It's when you sit down, you have a certain task, and you don't know how to do it. And only with sound intuition you can fix it. Any course where they tell you to use this EQ and that compressor doesn't resolve any problem. Sound intuition is tons of knowledge plus experience, feeling, and this flair how to resolve issues. Because working with sound is always problems resolving. Okay, now let's see what we are gonna learn. Everything about music writing and production is pretty important part of our course. Those guys who came here to learn how to write music shouldn't be scared that there is only mixing and recording here. There is music writing here. It's a big part. In modern world it's not enough to know EQs and compressors. By the way, if you know EQs and compressors, you still don't understand music. If you have never written any music, if you don't know how to arrange, or something like high bass and low guitar plus an additional low guitar. They all are in the same octave. They won't sound good even if you tweak an EQ in every way. Because they are all in the same tessitura. You need to know music. Okay, next. Okay, recording, mixing and mastering on the highest level. The main part of phrase here is on the highest level. And I don't hesitate to say about the highest level, because I will prove it today. Today I will play a song with the highest level of sounding. And I will play my work or the work of my students with the highest level of sounding. One thing is what I do, but what the students from this course can do is that most important question. I'm gonna prove that the students who finish this course have so good works. Anyway, I'll explain why there is the highest class and why there is the lowest class. Now everybody considers themselves as a professor. If you start to work with sound, you watch some videos, you watch some commercials, you think up some rules. I have different approach. I dig knowledge and skills of the best audio engineers on the planet. I want to go after Chris Lord-Alge, I want to go after Bob Clearmountain, after Randy Staub, who mixed Metallica, Nickelback and others. I want to learn their methods. This is what the most important. To learn from the top professionals. Why? How do you think they were learning? They came to a studio to bring coffee in 80s, for example. Then they became an assistant. They learned from the big guys of that era and became them. Audio engineering is not invention of a wheel. It's not like you imagine that you are a genius. You still can do something, but you cannot do other things. Why am I saying all this? Because I was like this as many people. 10 years ago I thought like, now I'm gonna think up things and will do correctly. But I was wrong. There is one more important moment. I'm a psycho in sound. I'm a maniac crazy about sound. It means that I sit down and listen to for nights. Over the years. I'm going to work, I listen to comparisons in small headphones. I made sound with this EQ and that EQ, and I compare for hours. Then I come to work and I sit there and compare. Then I find some sudden videos. For example, how Chris Lord-Alge is shooting video on a camera. I pause it and during 3 months I analyze it like a psycho. What I can see, what I cannot see, what the button is pressed. I find the specification of this console from 80s. If I don't see, I only see the yellow light in some spot. So I checked what yellow light is on this console. And I can be wrong. So I put all my analytic skills to find the truth. I can find an answer indirectly, every movement and why it has been applied. That's how I learned everything. I need to add here, all these top 20 engineers will not teach us this knowledge properly. Actually they try it, but honestly they don't have ability to teach. And sometimes they even mislead us. I know that from my big experience. Where I found those analytical skills is the Advanced Physical Technical Lyceum and Bachelor degree in Computer Engineering. But the main reason is rare perseverance, as I said. In spite of I'm a top-rated audio engineer of my region, I always believed that I have been learning from guys like Chris Lord-Alge. Just was able to get their knowledge where others never could see them. Next, we will learn equipment and software, creating commercials, editing, post-production for video, surround sound, practicing and homeworks. By the way, probably you have never seen any course where you do homeworks, where a teacher in real time analyzes your homework and shows you how to make better, what mistakes you made, etc. I think you don't realize now how only this activity makes a result. Not only explanation of a topic. It's a typical situation. You are watching a video and thinking that you understand everything. I've seen my students, and there are a lot of top professionals of our industry, by the way. They think that they understand the topic. But when I check their homeworks, only 5% of them do them correctly. It's an unbelievable fact that I have discovered for myself after 4 years of teaching. And exactly homeworks will teach you how to work. Okay guys, let's increase our speed or I'm afraid it will take too long and we won't be on time. Let's talk about homeworks. For example, you are taking guitar lessons and the teacher is sitting in front of you. He is playing. And it seems so easy, right? It's so good. But when he passes a guitar to you, you can't repeat all of this. The same is here. If I show you something and you don't practice with it at home, you don't try it by yourself, you are not passionate, then you'd rather become erudite, but without practical skills. If you want to be able to do all of this, you need to do your homework. And even better, not only your homework, but show some initiative. Write something, bring it to our classes, ask something, why the kick doesn't sound here, how we can do this. This is one of the most important things that makes our course different from others, because you have practice here. Okay, let's talk about presets. Let's work with MIFs. You take wave plugins. It seems cool. There are presets from Lord-Alge and from other sound geniuses. For example, you have a bass. Let's imagine. I recorded a bass guitar. Or wrote an electronic bass. It happened that your bass has a lot of low frequencies. There is not enough clarity and definition. And for example some noisy high end. I don't know. Maybe there was some white noise added in the synthesizer. If you recorded it, it can be a background noise, for example. Your amp had this noise, and you put a preset of Lord-Alge, figuratively speaking, or a preset from any top 20 engineers. And there is that cool word bass. And it sounds even worse than it sounded. I'll explain why. When the person was creating that preset, he had a bass, for example, with lack of low frequencies, it was precision, and it didn't have a high end at all. And this guy makes this preset in this way. He thinks, okay, we need to add some low frequencies to this bass. We won't boost any frequency to add some definition, because the bass is already pretty defined. And it needs to have highs, because it's for instance heavy metal and this bass should cut heavy guitars. It's not a joke. Sometimes they boost high frequencies for the bass. And now let's apply this preset for your bass. You are boosting the low frequencies that are already too much. You don't increase any definition. You don't increase top frequencies you need to boost in order to show where your notes start. And finally, you increase your noise. You had noisy sound, and you made it even more noisy. That's why presets don't work. You need to understand what you need to do with your sound, instead of applying presets. They don't work. Okay, next example. You got used to boost high mid frequencies. It's very common when people boost high mid. And once you saw some video where an audio engineer, even if it's professional engineer, said boost, what will we use? A vocal. Okay. Boost 3K on the vocal. For example, boost with 1 dB 3K, right? And he uses NIF EQ, for example. Or SSL G EQ. If you press this button, it means SSL EQ works. What does it mean? It means that NIF 1073 EQ and SSL 9000 GQ, they have very low Q factor. It means that they boost frequencies with very wide curve. Like this. He boosts literally just a little bit and with very wide curve. But you have, I don't know, Waves Renaissance EQ, or you have SSL E. You boost, but you boost like this. And that's it. And you think it's bullshit. First of all, that narrow boost makes your instrument sound unnaturally. It makes your sound nasal. And you haven't boosted any presence. This is a surgical EQ, and this is a shape EQ. In fact, there are different types. If you don't understand all these nuances, you can't apply some techniques. Also, for instance, you can boost your lows with shelf or bell curve. You need to press this button for this. In 4000 series EQ, it's only 1.4 Q, when 9000 series has 2.5 Q, and again you'll get different results. But there is an important moment. If you boost plus 20 dB, it's the highest amount that you can apply. And the shapes of the curve of G and E in this EQ will be the same, while they're absolutely different when you boost your regular, like plus 5 dB. One of them will be wide and the other one will be narrow. The same about coloration. When people use some compressor, for example LA2A, you know it, it's considered very popular for the vocal. Why? They put it in the chain for just from 1 to 2 dB of compression. It doesn't do a lot. And sometimes people who try to understand this technique think, then we cannot to compress more, only 1 to 2 dB. I saw it, it's prohibited. But in reality LA2A was used just for coloration. LA2A is a tube compressor. And then when Chris Lord-Alge compresses this vocal, he will compress it with 10 dB. But in some course, some smartass tells you that you shouldn't compress your voice more than 3 dB. It's a mistake, guys. By the way, it's very common. But a lot of professionals compress a lot, because the goal is to make it flat, in order to put the vocal in the mix. You don't want it to jump up and down, you know? So you need to know these nuances and aspects of sound. Only after that you will start to mix properly. You need to realize what you are doing. And then you'll get a result. The next, for instance, pre-delay and reverb. Who knows for what this parameter is in charge? One student says, delay. No? I reply, delay of what? And students reply, I mean, because the right ear hears more and faster than the left one. And I reply, no, you are saying about delay. I'm talking about reverb. Reverb has a pre-delay parameter. Look, reverb adds some acoustic, like echo. And you think your voice is in the huge hangar. Actually, I don't like to say echo, you need to say reverberation. For people who don't understand reverberation word, you have to say echo. But anyway, it consists two things: early reflections and tail of reverberation. What are early reflections? It's when I say a sound like ah. The sound of ah hits the wall and came back to my ear. It's the first early reflection. This is the second one, is the third to this wall. The fifth is from the ceiling. They take more distance. The early reflections are in charge for the parameters of this room. During all those years you live on this planet, you got used to them. You can guess with your intuition in what type of room your sound is. Shortly speaking, you can guess some parameters of the room. People in teaching courses say, don't put reverb on your vocal to maintain clarity, put it with some pre-delay. To let the vocal sound first, dry vocal without kind of soap. And then the soap comes to it. And this vocal becomes ambient. But the thing is, the pre-delay parameter in different reverb plugins moves different things. In some reverb plugins the pre-delay moves the whole effect. In the other reverb plugins, the pre-delay moves only the tail. So in this case, if you move the tail, you still have this kind of soap on your sound. You need to understand all of this. Honestly, I really like Renaissance bundle, because in spite of simplicity of these plugins, they allow you to get serious results. A lot of people use it. Of course, it's an introductory lecture, so if you don't understand something, it's okay. We will learn all of this in detail, in depth, and very meticulously. People who finish this course always say, "Wow, I couldn't even imagine how deeply we gonna learn everything." Look at this pretty lineup. Look at what moves with it. Only a tail. These yellow posts are early reflections. They don't move. So in fact, when you move a pretty lineup, you move different things. Without this knowledge, you can't get the right result. The next thing. There are many approaches. Everybody has own one. When a person says, try to do this, it doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It can work in his situation, but it cannot in your situation. Let's imagine. EQ X works very well with compressor X. You want to use EQ X, but you like compressor Y, and there is always possibility that they don't work together that good. I'm gonna make an example for those who already understand compressors. You're watching a video about audio production, and a teacher of a course says to you, use a compressor with a long attack on your vocal. You think like 2 ways, whatever, 2 ways, 2 syllables, okay? Applying a compressor with a long attack to this vocal, you make a sound ooh in the word too quieter. The sound T doesn't become quieter because the attack is the speed how fast compressor's gonna work. A compressor passes the sound T and compresses oo. So you have loud T and quiet oo. Too. So it can work in the person's situation. Because on the master bus, where he has a compressor which compresses the whole song, there is a short attack on that compressor, and all these T are gonna lose their volume on that stage. But for example, you use a compressor with a long attack on the master bus. In this case, you'll get even more emphasizing of this T, and his recommendation to use a long attack on the vocal compressor doesn't suit you. And it's a nuance again. Okay, let's move further. I understand that it can be difficult right now, but be patient a little more. The rule of the reference song is gonna be interesting for you. The topic is related to monitors. You all have read articles and stories, and you know that these kind of speakers are garbage, right? It's impossible to work on sound on these speakers. You need to buy studio monitors, and you need to buy good studio monitors. The regular KRK monitors are not that good. Good monitors are DIN Audio from $1,500 for a one monitor, or whatever. You spend 4,000 and you can mix, kind of. I'm gonna say to you that you can mix on these speakers as well. For this, you apply the rule of a reference song. What is the reference song? One student says, you mix and compare with a pro song. And I reply, right. The word reference means a link to something, right? Look, you can listen to in 2 ways. You can listen to monitors, and you can listen to through monitors. What's the difference? When you listen to monitors, you listen to some song, and you hear how these monitors sound. For example, your monitors make the sound more low, grainy, and boost highs. They color the sound. These typical speakers do the same. Studio monitors kind of don't color your sound. Kind of a flat frequency response, and kind of they don't color. The truth is, it's all lie. Any monitor doesn't have a flat frequency response. At least that fact that during 30 years almost every studio used Yamaha NS10, there are speakers like this. They are not even kind of a studio monitors. And Chris Lord-Alge still works on them today. Why? Because they are so bad. If you mix a song on them good, then this song will sound good everywhere. What you need to mix on this type of speakers is next. You take the best sounding song in the industry you have been listening for a while. This music you already know. You have listened to it in these type of speakers and in that type of speakers, and in the headphones and in the car, and in the small headphones that you plug into your ears. You know this song. You come to a new studio where there are new monitors. First of all, you need to sit down and just listen to this song. And then you start to realize, okay, these monitors add low end to this song, they make that transparent sound more grainy and boxy, and color the high mids, for instance. And now you mix in the same way. You are trying to make your sound kind of the same. It's not important if your reference is a rock song and you work on a dance music. Okay, it makes some difference, but you need to make it almost with the same volume, with the same transparency, the same relative amount of lows, the same amount of highs, almost the same coloration, the same depth. Some instruments are to the front, some to the back. That's where the answer is. You just need to switch more often. You listen to the reference song, and then after 10 minutes of your work, you need to listen to it again. You support yourself in this way. So it's not a problem at all to work on this type of speakers. If you don't have studio monitors, it's not a big problem. By the way, we will speak about how to set up your studio environment on the second lesson. We're gonna discover what you got at home, how to set up and organize everything. Especially you will be interested in it, how to set up everything in your studio, right? Your acoustic treatment shouldn't deceive you. By the way, if you want to learn some program, I mean DAW, Pro Tools for instance. Why Pro Tools is really important DAW? Yes, it's not that advanced like some other DAWs, it doesn't have that many functions, it's not always stable. I have a friend who worked for Chalice Recording Studios. It's a studio in Los Angeles with a budget like $80 million. One of the best studios. A lot of R&B and hip-hop were made there. He said there was a case when Nas is a legendary rapper. He came from New York to LA and was recording something. And suddenly Pro Tools shut down. And they were like, oh, sorry, now we will reboot our computer and start our Pro Tools again. But you need to know it. First of all, it's the most convenient for mixing. Other programs are not always that convenient. Pro Tools is just so intuitive. Secondly, it's 90% of chance that it will be Pro Tools if you go somewhere. If you work with international customers, it's again more chances that a project they will send to you is in Pro Tools. But of course you can work in any DAW that is more convenient for you. We will speak about DAWs on the second lesson. Okay, next thing. Sometimes the sound make things. Who came here just to learn how to write music? Dima, Serge and Artem. As I understand, it's electronic music? Okay. In contrast to the rock music, where sometimes a band can gather in the garage and play who knows how. You all listen to rock bands' demos, right? It can be a mess. You cannot hear anything. The vocal is quiet, then it's loud, then you can hear nothing. The bass hums, they can have great guitars like Fenders, Gibsons, whatever. They're just not recorded properly. They're not mixed properly. But sometimes people admit it, because it's a demo. In your case, in the electronic music, you don't have any choice. You need to have a sound, because in electronic music, it's a technology. It can be two notes, right? But with the interesting rhythm, the kick sounds great, synthesizers are good. It's impossible without a good sound. Also, I've already told an example about arranging. You want to blend a bass with a synth. You need to understand that it's better to blend them together when a bass and a synth are in different octaves. You need to make it deep and wide. It's all about sound, but we'll talk about music writing soon. Now look, I'm gonna show you the really interesting thing. Let's listen to the reference. So, there is a band called Theory of a Dead Man and a song called Santa Monica. I really like this band because, I like music as well, but I really like their sound. I think it's one of the top sounding products. Lord-Alge mixed it. It's like coincidence, right? The best mixing engineer in the world. This is how this song sounds.
That even if we thought it would last, the moment would pass.
It sounds deeply, vocalist sings good, right? It sounds beautiful. Let's listen to how they sound live.
She fills my bed with gasoline. You think I wouldn't notice her mind's made up for love.
Do you understand what mixing does to the sound? It turns a regular band to the masterpiece. The same with your electronic music. Your electronic music will sound like this. After mixing, after working on sound, it becomes a professional product. And you people want to listen to it. When I started to write music like 15 years ago, there was one funny thing. I take some simple song and there is only drums like simple and bass like and an instrument like a piano which is like and that's it. But you know it sounds cool. I'm listening to it and think, I'll write the same. I take kick, snare, hi-hat, wrote the same drums, took a bass, found the best I could find from libraries and wrote notes in the same way. But it doesn't sound. I thought maybe I need an additional instrument. I take strings and put it there. I listen to it again, but like, it doesn't sound anyway. So the rule is putting additional instruments doesn't solve a problem. It should sound good from the beginning. It often depends on quality, on recording, on mixing, on mastering. Now look, I'll show you another example. It's a song of a typical local band. Let's listen to it in comparison with Santa Monica song. So this is just a band. They have a simple audio interface Focusrite with a simple preamplifiers that cost $20 if you count logically. The microphone is Audio-Technica 2020, it costs $100. They have simple guitars, the strings are old, but after mixing it sounds pretty solid. I'll prove it now for you. Why? It's the best mixing engineer in the world. The best recording and mixing equipment, millions of dollars.
That even if we
And the band.
Мой мир зажги зариками, пусть ветер распахнет рубаху. That even if we thought it was мой мир.
But anyway, it sounds good. A student says, close, close. And I reply, yeah, we can say close. In comparison with the best, it's the best what we have in the world. And this is the band at home, on the budget. And now let's listen to how it sounded before mixing.
Мой мир зажги зариками, пусть ветер распахнет рубаху.
And after?
Мой мир зажги зариками, пусть ветер.
You can say just quieter. Students say, no, it's not about quieter. But I continue, let's make it louder. And let's compare a loud version with a mixed version. So it's a loud unmixed version.
Мой мир зажги зариками, пусть ветер распахнет рубаху. Мой мир зажги зариками, пусть ветер распахнет рубаху.
This is a commercial sound. This is the sound which is absolutely improved. If you listen to that version, it's like some person sang something, did something at home, and that's it. And people probably don't want to listen to it. But here you listen to this mixed version and you think, well, it's probably some band, you get interested in it, it do have some level of sound. And I remind you, they used what they had, guitar strings were old, I mixed it and it sounds like this. Understand? Okay. Let's go further. I want to tell you about what bad things you get because of gear and software commercials. When some company says now, buy our studio microphone. When I hear studio mic or professional mic, I am shaking. It means it is not a studio mic for sure and not professional. Companies like MXL or cheap AKG microphones or cheap Audio-Technica or others. And you think, yeah, they're studio mics, probably I'm gonna buy them. I will be sounding like in the studio. You buy it, but it doesn't sound right. Because the best microphones in the world are old ones. From 50s, for example. There was a company in Santa Barbara that did only one thing. They restored old U47 mics. Can you imagine that? It's like you bring a mic which is 50 years old. They renew it, they try to put the correct tube in it, they clean this mic in order to maintain the sound from 9049. You need to go for these microphones. You take this used mic, you shake it and it seems to fall apart. It costs from $8,000. You don't go to buy a mic for 600, which is a studio mic. You go to buy U47, because this mic will sound. This mic makes your voice sound naturally. Warm, open, transparent, not sharp, not too bright, not too muddy. There are a few great microphones, like old AKG C12, Telefunken 251, etc. I have a picture here. It's a MXL mic. Look what a booth they make for it. There is absorbing surface. In spite of this surface kills reflections, it cannot kill them all. It kills high frequencies mostly in this case, and you'll get a boxy sound. It's crazy. And at the same time here we have U47s. Classic. It starts from Frank Sinatra, the Beatles, and ends with Ice Cube, Metallica, and you name it. Metallica actually likes to use U47 FAT. It isn't tube mic. So we are gonna learn real equipment. We won't learn advertisements. We'll learn what top engineers use historically, and what affordable equipment can help us to maintain the same level of quality. Next, you need to be tolerant to all genres and listen to them. But I will tell you the main genre. It's a rock music. If you don't believe in it, you have to. Why? Because all recording industry grew because of this genre. In the Beatles era, they invented stereo, improved mics, multi-track recording, Neve console. Then it all only was being improved. Pretty often in the bad direction. They invented consoles on transistor circuit, and it wasn't that good from the beginning. Then they invented digital recording, a tape was thrown out, and it started to sound really bad from the beginning. Now we have 24-bit converters, right? At that period of time they weren't even 16 bits. Sometimes they were even 13 bits. It's like a bit crusher in electronic music, you know? In order to kill your sound, trying to get Super Mario sound, you need to know rock. There was born all technology. There were born the best audio engineers. If you know this genre, you can work with any genre with just a little bit of analytic skill. Next thing, instruments. Why you need to know instruments? We will be learning guitars with you, for example. Acoustic guitars, electric guitars. It seems kind of strange why you need to learn this if you want to work with electronic music. It's very important, because you learn phase. Just imagine, you need to record a bass guitar. You have a combo. Combo is a head and a cabinet in one box. You put a mic next to the speaker, and you play the bass guitar. And you record it in two ways. The first is in the line input. Look, the cable goes from the bass guitar to so-called DI box. It's a kind of splitter. One cable goes to your mixing console or to your audio interface. The second cable goes to the combo. It can be even a plugin in your computer. It's the emulation of your combo, for instance. They can be different in terms of sound, of course. Anyway, if you don't understand what the phase is, your bass guitar can sound pretty bad. Look, when your sound goes through a cable in the line input, it's not far from the speed of light. You press record button and your bass is recorded, not so far from the speed of light. When you put a microphone, there will be some distance. It's a delay. Because the sound of your combo takes some time to get into the microphone, it means that your waveforms will be different. The second one is delayed. It means when they sound together, they will cut each other. They will subtract frequencies from each other, and your bass will sound bad. So you need to know phase and you need to align. Let's imagine your client sent the project to you. It can be even electronic music. There can be a couple of basses as well. I have been working with an electronic band. They are only a bass player and a DJ. They perform everywhere, in clubs. They always have an electronic bass and the bass guitar. And they play together. If I don't do something with phase, it doesn't sound at all. That's why you need to know instruments. You even need to know woods. If your acoustic guitar has maple, it will sound brighter. It can have a maple neck. If it has mahogany, it can sound deeper and darker. You need to know all nuances, no matter whether you want it or not. Of course, we will be learning a lot. We will have very cool topics like panorama, EQs, compressors. They are very deep and big. I'm sure you will be just amazed. You've never seen anything like that. Even if you know all of this, you will be enjoying a lot. Like Maxim Gardashevsky and others. They have been working in this industry for a long time. But when they dig these topics again, and something amazing appears that can solve all problems, it's amazing. This course is just more than you can even imagine. And I really enjoy to see how happy the students are when they discover all these nuances. Besides the main topics, we will be learning topics that nobody knows. Coloration of sound, harmonic content, how to finish mix using only different harmonic colorations, without EQs, for instance. So what's the difference between a pro mix and kind of a home mix? Each instrument doesn't intersect with others. It's like a painting where there is a green color, red color, brown color, figuratively speaking, right? By the way, in the world there are only a few people who truly can work with EQ. 95% of mixing engineers don't truly understand how to work with frequencies. They just use the classic technique plus some templates. I think our EQ topic is the masterpiece I'm really proud of. We will have 5 different approaches to understanding how to work with the EQ. It's a method called divining, based on the ability to hear sound on the advanced level. Invented by myself, the full table of interrelationships of descriptive parameters of sound. Method when you listen to other instruments while EQing current instrument. Also the hybrid method. Also there will be a method called masking of shortcomings, when you transfer an accent of attention to other aspects of an instrument. Also we'll learn historically proven templates, but only as the additional help. I don't mention that we will learn classic methods, types of filters, mastering EQing with a lot of examples and homeworks, reviewing almost all existing analog and software EQs, understanding why and when you need to apply a frequency correction, advantages and disadvantages, and discovering physics aspects of sound. And another important thing, you can ask a question. If all those tools like EQs, compressors, all equipment are for improvement, but the sound gets worse in the same time, whatever you do in sound, you always get something bad, like a bonus. It's the rule. For example, let's make it about frequencies. You boost the clarity in the upper mid, okay? 5K for instance. What you get like a bonus? Sharpness. If your sound had that harmonic content, you're gonna take it out. So you get not only clearer sound, but sharper sound as well. Another example. You cut 300 Hz. You cut low mids, muddiness, right? What happens? You get more transparent sound. It's not that muddy anymore, right? But there is a rule. Kind of mirror reflection frequencies. So when you cut 300, you kind of boost 5K. Not the same, but kind of. In fact, you took away warmness and accented all sharp frequencies and highs. So the art of mixing is to apply as more as possible improvements with the smallest possible amount of damage. That's what it is. Virtual instruments. We are coming to the end soon. It's kind of difficult when it takes too long, you know? What interesting is there about virtual instruments? Different genres die fast. A new genre appeared today and it will die in a year. It's a big problem. In a couple of years, dubstep won't be so popular. There will be a new popular genre, right? And people who made their names with dubstep, one of the things that they were able to do is working with Massive. They make this wow sound, right? The wobble effect, shortly speaking. What will they do when this genre dies? There is a lack of skills for the future in this case. You need to be flexible. For instance, you could put acoustic instruments to your music, right? Maybe some strings, but you can modulate them. Whatever. Then synchronize with tempo. Put some interesting delay going between monitors. We'll learn all this. But what are virtual instruments? There are only two types of instruments. Those that are created with wave synthesis. I mean, people take a sine wave, you put harmonics on it, you blend a saw waveform to it with different levels, you start to modulate it, you use filters with resonant peak, which moves from the low frequencies to the higher frequencies. It means you open and close your filter. We'll learn it. We will have a big course about synthesis and massive. For example, you need to create a kick drum. You will sit down and create it without taking any sample from libraries. It's cool. We'll check a lot of synths. But before you even come to it, you need to learn what an EQ is, filters, because of, for instance, Massive is based on this. What is the resonance in filters? We'll understand all this much more deeply than others in the EQ topic. We'll learn this, and then you'll learn Massive. The second type of instruments are real instruments. How is it done? 10 years ago, everybody was saying, computer sound is garbage. It cannot replicate the real sound. Now almost nobody says like this. People say there is no difference. You have a MIDI keyboard, it doesn't create any sound. It transmits commands into the computer. You press a key. In some cool studio, I mean in your home environment, you could never record a piano with so good quality. It can be a very good piano that you cannot afford for home, like Steinway for instance. And you take native instruments Steinway. It's cool. Galaxy Steinway. It was recorded in a great studio, with Neve preamplifiers, with great microphones. They just recorded a note. A pianist was told to play one note with low velocity. He made it with a light touch, if we can say like that. Then they say, play it with higher velocity. He pressed harder, harder and harder. When you press a key, it plays a note recorded in that studio. If you press harder, it plays the note recorded in that studio with higher velocity. It's difficult for a guy who is not a real pianist to hear the difference. Now they record strings with different articulations. There is everything. Tremolo, staccato, sforzando, almost every kind of articulations. Who knows what instruments you almost cannot recreate in a computer? As students say, a guitar. I reply, a guitar. That's one of the reasons why I personally went from a piano to guitars. I started to play guitars. It seems like the same from the beginning. You can press a key on your MIDI keyboard and play a recorded guitar note. But there are two things. When you hit a chord, you touch an E string, an E note. There is vibrating of other strings at the same time. There are additional harmonics to your note. You can't consider all this during recording your guitar library. But anyway, with each chord there is different harmonic content. Secondly, when you play guitar, you create a lot of percussive sounds. It's muting with your palm, you hit, you mute to create some percussive groove. Of course, you can record this with no question. I have some libraries of a bass guitar, when you have hits on muted strings muted with the left hand. I mean strings are not pressed with the left hand, and you hit with the right hand. But anyway, you can't find the right noise, because in each chord there is the difference. There are different harmonics appearing. You can experiment at home. Take an acoustic guitar library. You can even trick your computer. When you hit a chord, you hit 5 strings, for instance. Write those 5 notes in your MIDI editor of your DAW. Consider everything. Put them in the right place. You understand, right, that the guitar chord is not like C, E, G. The second note can be even 1 octave higher than a chord with the inversion, for example. Don't worry, make it absolutely like on the guitar. When you hit a chord, you hit the 5th strings first. You have so-called piano roll. You have it in every DAW now. Then you make the second note with a little delay. The third note comes just a little bit later. And so on. It's like you hit this note, then that note, and so on. There are micro delays. But anyway, it won't sound like on the real guitar. So it's not the real deal in this case. Of course, there are virtual instruments that can play chords, because those chords were recorded like played chords. You play the note and it plays the whole riff, right? For instance, there is the funk library Scarby Funk Guitarist. You press note, and under this note there is some chord with some rhythm pattern. This is the only way. And student says, this is the same like taking loops. And I reply, that's right. And there is only one guitar model with certain sound. That's it. It's much easier to have your own guitar. You need to play a little bit at least. I'm not a good guitarist. Vlad here is very serious guitarist. He plays a guitar for a living. And he be able to take a guitar and plays wherever he wants. The next thing about music theory. You came here, but somebody knows music theory, somebody doesn't know. Somebody knows scales, how to make chords, what are the chords inversions, what is imperfect authentications. Somebody can know this. The cool thing is I won't be teaching you this music theory. There is the alternative theory, called digital music theory. 0, minor third is 3, fourth is 5, fifth is 7. It's a minor. Also a second, of course, is 2. You will count it mathematically. That's it. You will write any music with this method. It's very simple. Actually, there isn't theory like this. It's my own theory, but I see a lot of people use it as well. It's the number of semitones from 0. Then you can create chords and everything. It allows you to write music if you absolutely don't know any music theory. By the way, I learned these theories creating it by myself from the beginning. And only then I learned official music theory. Both of them don't hurt each other. Now let's talk about software license. You will be using software on this course, right? I bought all my software. Something I got for free. For example, SSL company presented their plugins to me. Because I was testing them, right? As you understand, I cannot control what you are using. It's your decision. Another one very cool and important thing that we learn everything on this course in very smart way. I was amazed how cool it was. When I started this course, I hadn't known this. We start the new topics like panorama, dynamics, EQ, with goals, disadvantages, and the methods how to use. Look, when you watch some video, some audio engineer mixed a song. You watched it and think, yeah, it's cool, now I'll do the same. You are sitting down and that's it. You don't know exactly what you need to do. Okay, there was some EQ. Let's repeat this process. I've already shown an example with the bass to you, right? The bass had a lot of low end. The preset was created for the bass which had not enough low end. We will be developing your so-called audio engineer's intuition. You don't need to know a certain plugin with some preset. You need to know the core of sound. It's an amplitude, phase, frequencies, all nuances. Put it under your skin and know the goals of applying of each process. You're sitting down and think why to use an EQ. To solve the problem of muddiness, the problem of the lack of clarity, who will be the dominant instrument in some certain frequency range. But what are disadvantages? If you boost high-end, you boost all disadvantages of that range of frequencies. You can bring the instrument to the close position, but maybe you needed these instruments to be far away to be the background of this mix. For instance, strings. And you cannot get strings on the background of your mix. It doesn't matter anymore how much reverb you will put on these strings. So there is the disadvantage to boost highs in this case. The next is really important factor. A vocal which sits in the mix. It's a headache of everybody. A lot of people say that the clarity is the most important thing in the mix. But I think the most important thing is a sitting vocal in the mix. You play Santa Monica song we were listening to, mixed by Lord-Alge. And the vocal there is like was born there. It goes together with music. Let's take any other unprofessional mix. In hip-hop there is a lot of this problem. I mean home-recorded hip-hop. You never hear a voice which sits in the mix there. The music goes by itself, the vox goes by itself. You play it and think, something wrong here. But you play Snoop Dogg and think, yeah, it sits there. It's very important how to sit your vocal in a mix. We will be learning all of this. There are very interesting aspects of it. Okay, we are gonna finish soon. Students who finished this course before, how else can I guarantee that it's their unbelievably helpful course? I've already described a lot, but what else? Let's face the truth. The most important is people who have already finished this course. What they did, what progress have they done? The thing is, people who have finished this course don't want to finish. We agreed with them that we will have additional lessons. We take some topic which is not in the course, which is not so important, but it's not bad as an additional learning. It's a good sign that people very appreciated this course. Let's see them. A lot of people find jobs in the industry. I want to show you their reviews. I'm gonna show you only 3 of them. A lot of them make a good progress who were doing homeworks. Let's start with Artem. He works with electronic music, dubstep as well, by the way. And this is what he wrote. When I found out about this course, I was a skeptic a little bit. From where it came, all this mixing and mastering on the highest level, the result exceeded all expectations. After even 5 months of these classes, I made a big breakthrough in my art. All techniques and knowledge are being given in obtainable, simple, effective way. I came to understanding of all processes. I realize with what I can get a sound powerful, fat and clear. In the end of my education, I was amazed how serious, powerful my mixes started to sound. If you are gonna become a professional and a master, this course is mandatory element on your way. This is Artem Makarov, and let's listen to his progress. Actually, it's a little bit difficult to compare, because dubstep it's not easy to compare with Santa Monica song, right? Let's admit it.
That even if we thought it would last,
The class is about on the same level. There was an interesting moment about this track. Once he brought some reference track and his track, but he didn't say where the reference is and where his track is. We were thinking like, so yeah, this is better here, and then we found out that the better track was his track. The reference was worse. We really thought that the other track was worse, and thought that he made that track. Okay, next. Gardashevsky. Gardashevsky don't like to speak a lot. Gardashevsky Maxim Viktorovich, the owner of the rehearsal studio and the owner of the recording studio. During taking this course, I reorganized and improved quality of my works. Big thanks for Andrew. This is Gardashevsky, and he has his own band. They play in rockabilly genre. If you don't understand, it's like rock and roll from 50s. He's trying to make a vintage sounding product. It means it should sound in old style. Let's compare.
That even if we thought it was
Honestly, I was debating with him about the volume of his vocal, but he said, no, it's like it should be. You see the level of quality. And the third review, Evgeny Kudrashov. No wonder there is a proverb, if you want to learn how to sew, go to learn from a tailor. In the case of audio engineering, this rule works as well. I'm happy that I didn't do a mistake to choose when I started to look for a teacher for myself. The main criteria for me when choosing was an experience, practical skills and knowledge of a teacher. I didn't want the teacher to say words that he read before the lesson. I wanted him to share his recommendations that can I apply for the real tasks in the natural way. Andrew can find an approach to each student, and the most important, I never met any person who loved his job so much and continued to look for new discoveries. Even after that many years, I'm sincerely thankful for those months, and I have to say, I will miss our lessons. Thank you, you presented me an opportunity to record my music in the way I want it to sound. Evgeny Kudrashov is a professional pianist. He was working for different professional projects. The thing is, he wasn't be able to record his music to show it on the professional level to the world. After he recorded and showed his music on a professional level, now he plays music around the world. He started from Bali, and his work, of course. It was for an audio stock. What's an audio stock? It's where you sell your music. He wasn't applying a lot of mixing. The thing is, people buy this music, put a voice on it and make some commercials, so you shouldn't overcompress it and all. But anyway, look, it's arranged not bad. For example, this one. Also his work for the game. We were working together on this game. We were making sound design. He mostly was writing music for the backgrounds and the menu, and I was doing different sound effects. It's a horror. For example, a person are coming in the underground area and there are some scary sounds. He was writing music. Here it is. So it's a horror, right? Absolutely professional level. Play any game. There can be worse music. Who knows? Okay. And one more thing. He started to make a video blog. We have a post-production course in our course. I mean how to make sound for the video. He learned how to record his voice properly, how to edit everything, how to mix. It opens a lot of ways, as you can see. So how long is our course? It's 9 months. I'm gonna tell you now, if you start it, you won't be able to leave it. You will realize it's a treasure, and you will be appreciating it a lot, guys. 2 times per week, from 2 hours long. It's 8 lessons per month, The 9th lesson is for free, so each month you have 1 free lesson. So it's kind of a 10 months course during a 9 months course. Okay guys, when you want to start? From this week on Wednesday or next week? This week, I reply, so I'll wait you on Wednesday. One thing I want to tell you from myself. If somebody had given me a course like this 10 years ago, I would have saved 9 years. Also, I want to say it's good for you that you are taking this course now, because as you see, I have some plans for working abroad. And there is no guarantee that I will be here in a year. It's good that it's now. Then it could be impossible. Who knows? Okay, during the next lesson we will be doing 3 things. I want to find out your goals, of each of you. I will be writing for myself what you have, what equipment, and what goals you have. Secondly, we'll discuss all software, what you have, what you will need. It will be the interesting topic. And third thing is to how to organize your workplace. It's a very important task. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. This room has a rectangular shape. This wall is shorter than this one. Where are you gonna put our table? And a student says, it's better at that side, next to the shorter. You need where to put our table. And I say, where is to put a table, monitors, computer monitor? And the student continues. There are corners, bass frequencies will be higher, next to the longer wall. And I reply, you said some reasons. The student continues, it depends on what kind of music. And I reply, but there are some rules here, psychoacoustics rules. Actually, it's better to place it near the shorter wall. But as Tas said, you cannot put your monitors in the corners. Also a monitor. You need to understand that the low frequencies from a monitor have almost omnipropagation, unlike high frequencies. For example, Artyom didn't hear high frequencies properly today, because this thing called Twitter is this kind of directional. Sanya mostly was listening to high frequencies. And Dima. I was that guy who was listening low frequencies as well. Lows go like this. Now let's imagine there is a wall. There are reflections from this wall and this wall. The volume of lows is increased. It's better if there will be only one wall. On the paper, it's better to put monitors here, but we need to put monitors closer to each other. You just need to create equilateral triangle. We will be speaking about it during the next lesson. Today it was the office, where people do their own business. This company manages our financial side. You pay monthly, and we put all of this in this box. That's it for today. Take a notebook and a pen with yourself. I'll explain this trick for you, why you need to do it in this way. See you next time, and we will start to learn.